Is this the ultimate tool to create leverage for massive results in business and in life? Welcome to today's episode. My name is Tom Rolley. Just coming off a run. My hair's a little bit long, a little bit messy. Lockdown has ended, but there is a backlog on hairdressing. So haircuts remain elusive for me. Quick couple of updates. So it looks like the software is coming. I'm excited for this. I closed all of my personal credit cards today. And the reason for that is to be able to pull the cash out to build the software. You see, this system stuff is very interesting. And at the moment, it can be done on anything that has a similarity to Excel or Google Sheets and some kind of word processor, Google Docs, Trainual, whatever you want to use. You've got an idea of a project management system and you've got an idea of an operations manual. So the challenge is, though, that when you use the systems methodology that I created, there are a couple little traps. At the moment, it's like bowling down an alleyway with the guardrails down. But the software will enable those guardrails to come up. Like, it's not that hard to get the ball to go down the alley if you've got the guardrails up, hit the pins, hallelujah. It even gets better. You could make the analogy that the software is going to make it like one of those ramps where you get the ramp and you got the guardrails and all you got to do is push the ball. You're like, you know what? I want to hit the pins. Don't really mind whether I get a strike or not. You know, as long as some of the pins go down, you got a pretty good chance. You actually got to be doing really well to miss the pins with that particular setup. Now, this isn't to say that you don't get to get rid of the ramp and bowl with just the guardrails, or even just get rid of the guardrails and go hardcore. You see, as I was running today, I had an insight that there is a repeating pattern that is showing up in the way that some of these systems are playing out. So first of all, we've got the overall board design. What does a system look like? So I call that the magic board. Why? Because it gets shit done. Like, it gets stuff done in a way more effective way than anything else that I've come across. And it does that for a couple of reasons. Like, it is designed to do that. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. Okay, we're going to set it up this way. It's actually a limited way. And you might say, man, how could a limited way work better than all of the possible templates that Asana gives you, Monday gives you, whatever, Excel? You know, you can just go freeform and create all this stuff. Why would you want to limit it? Well, there's a couple of advantages. One is that you can build your systems using constraint method, like just using the same design over and over. And that means you can pull your team out of different areas and redeploy them, and they can work in accounting as well as they can work in marketing. They can work in fulfillment as well as they can work in advertising. They can work in sales, they can work in optics, they can even work in team, in hiring and onboarding. Why? Because the design is the same. What changes is the instructions. Yeah, no doubt about that. But this redundancy means that you have effectiveness in your team that you've never experienced before. You no longer have to have so many people because they have a lot of downtime. Either there's nothing much to do because you've got them siloed in one particular area. They're just in advertising, and when that work for advertising is done, they sit around. But more likely, you are requiring so many people because your team is confused. They're just not even using the instructions in the first place, and they can't see what other people are doing. They got no visibility on timelines. You're like, man, why am I paying so much for so little to get done? And what's interesting, in the early stages, you don't need this. You can get by on just having meetings every day. Hey, we're working on this, we're working on this. But as you get to get better and succeed, then your effectiveness becomes impaired because you've got a management overhead, because you refuse to deal with the game of systems and processes. And there's no escaping this. If you want to go big, you're going to need to get this on point. But do you start small? Do you start putting in your systems when you're just a solopreneur? When there's just 3 of you? When there's just 5 of you? I would say yes. Why? Well, because if you use the methods of system implementation, you don't need to go to super detail. You just might even just have the process names. And you're like, work it out. and we go, okay, yeah, we're going to move fast. We've got deadlines to meet. You're not at that stage of 1,000 employees where everyone needs to know everything. It's all got to be very diligent and locked down. You're still at a time where you can create, where you can change things, where you can move them around. But as you get bigger and more team come on board, then fine, you might need to say, you know what, this is how we do this system and lock it down. And then there's some kind of process to say, hey, I think we should change this. And it goes through a review process. But in the early days, you don't need that. But you can benefit from having a bare bones skeleton system for systems and processes in place. And it's going to mean that as you grow, you're bringing people into that structure, into that design that works. It's like, oh man. So that's exciting for me, that this is going to be handled by software. There are advantages. Yes, you can do it with Excel and Word. Yes, you can do it with Sheets and Docs. Yes, you can do it with any number of the project management systems and either Word docs or Google Docs or operation manual software all work. But when you see the design, when you learn the design of the magic board, you're like, oh man, this is awesome. But this is not what I wanted to talk about. What I am seeing as this ultimate leverage tool is a repeating pattern of powerful systems. And what they are is basically an overview system that allows you to manage multiple systems at once. So I've seen it in the advertising game. If you go to the Facebook page, what you will see is a repeating pattern. Quote cards, daily video, and then a daily video repost every day in, day out. This happens all the time. You can think this is relatively easy. I believe the chapter itself is about 5 to 6 pages. But if you do not have your systems game on point, you will struggle to do this. Why? Because if you mess it up, then the backlog just piles up so rapidly. It's impressive. Like there's a set amount of work that has to be done in order to schedule out those things to happen. And if you are not using systems, this will be rapidly exposed as not possible. But you can go to my page, check it out, have a look, see what you see. Do you see it? Do you see a live video every day? Do you see a reposted video from like 2 or 3 weeks ago? Do you see quote cards coming through regularly? And if you do, then you must know that there is a system behind it. And this is this ultimate leverage tool. What is running that is a big picture system and a bunch of small systems. And again, in fulfillment, big picture, client comes on board and they've got 8 coaching calls. The individual coaching calls are a system, but the big overview system allows the organization for that. And then as I was running, the webinar system came in. I was like, man, there's some interesting parallels between those 2 other ones for advertising and for fulfillment in terms of this webinar system. Perhaps even for a product launch as well. If you're using Jeff Walker's design, like it's like, oh, hang on. This overview system allows the organization for all of the subsystems. And what's most interesting is that the Holy Grail, the system that designs systems, is very similar as well. I'm like, man, there's a pattern here. There's a pattern here. So when I go to the software guys, I'm going to say, hey, we're going to make sure that we can make this super easy. Can we have these overview boards that the results of that board are other systems? So usually in a board, the results are whatever you want, you know, like it's the Google Docs or it's the slides or it's the videos or whatever it is, you know, whatever that result is that that system creates. But these overview ones, they have the results as systems. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. This leverage. Why? Because it's organized, because it's structured, because you stop losing your work. You stop losing your instructions. You stop losing everything in the chaos of your business. It's like Marie Kondo came in and went, whoop, let's organize this baby. And suddenly production takes off and profits take off. And even your protection game starts to come into play. Why? Because you've got the other parts on point. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this ability to get leverage and take an idea and see it come through to reality. Why? So that it serves others, that their lives get better. That is your calling as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Is it for a Ferrari? Look, that's a nice side effect, but no, it's not. It's to make a difference on this planet. Like, we could do with something like that right now. Just in case you hadn't noticed, the world appears to be in a little bit of difficulty. And so the call is coming to you for you to be able to leverage your ideas and bring through that idea and see it in reality. Not existing in a back-end website that never got launched. No. Your capacity will greatly increase when you get systems on point. If you want help with it, head over to systemio.dev. Thanks for tuning in for today's episode. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. I'm excited to bring through the software. I'm excited to bring through the magic board, to bring through the holy grail and this ultimate leverage tool, the system that manages systems. Head over to systemio.dev if you want help with this. Look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's episode as we continue this journey into the power of systems to create results. I'll see you then.